Hello, my most amazing and awesome artists. Today we're going back to our poem illustrations. You were interviewing for the job of illustrator to poems written by high school students nearby. We are going to be creating a book full of these poems with your illustrations. So if you got the job, you're ready to move on. Now to move on, you're going to get a piece of thick watercolor paper. The paper is very thick and you're going to need to fold it in half by matching up the edges and then creasing on the sides. When you're creasing, it's going to be a little difficult because the paper is thick. You want the paper to be folded exactly in half and one side to be able to stand up. Now we don't have to work on it with one side standing up, but these are going to become pop-up poems. So we're going to be making the illustrations background today. That means just what the setting is for your poem, just where it takes place. To do that, I am creating something called the horizon line. The horizon line is where the land or the floor meets the sky, or say whatever is inside of a building, so the walls. So in this case, my poem takes place outside because it's about the seasons. So I drew grassy hills on my line in the middle of my paper as my horizon line. That's where the land is going to meet the sky. Now, in your case, if your poem takes place in a school, well then it might just be your floor meeting the walls of the school, or the bedroom, or the kitchen, wherever it takes place. But if yours takes place outside, then you might want to put some kind of grassy area as your line there, and then your sky is going to be what's above it. So that's called the horizon line. After I draw with pencil and sketch out my setting for my poem, looking at my idea sheet and planning guide, then I'm going to go ahead and sketch out those ideas, but then go over it with Sharpie marker. This paper is very thick and you only get one. It's really expensive paper because you're being real illustrators today, and I want to give you the best art supplies. So after you sketch out your ideas and you're sure that it's your best work, then outline your pencil lines in Sharpie. When you're drawing with pencil first though, make sure you draw light, just sketching so lightly so that you have an idea of where to put those lines. If you were to press really hard with your pencil and then try to erase it, it is going to show up, so please draw light. Then I'm tracing over all of those lines with Sharpie, making sure I do my best work, not coloring anything in, just doing the outline. Now I'm going to watch it pop up. See how it looks 3D because my sky pops up to be vertical and then my bottom is flat. So then I'm going to take my eraser, I can push it back down, erasing in my safety zone of my letter L, erasing all the pencil lines to clean it up because you're a real illustrator. This is what real illustrators would do. They would make sure it's their best work and that there's no pencil or eraser lines. Now today, you're going to have some new supplies we haven't used before. These are water-soluble colored pencils and oil pastels. In the box on the left, you see the oil pastels. Box on the right are the colored pencils. These aren't normal colored pencils and oil pastels. These are water-soluble. Water-soluble means that when you apply water to them, it turns into paint. So we are basically using watercolor paint, but the colored pencil allows us to draw in really tiny details. So it's really nice. So I'm going to color everything with my colored pencils. Now the harder I press with the colored pencil, the more opaque or thick, bright color that paint will be when I get to apply the water when I'm done. I do want to be finished with everything before I move on to the water. If I feel like I need to add something still with Sharpie, I can still do that, but making sure that all my important things are outlined before I go ahead with the color. Now, it's also important that you don't have any of your main characters. On that planning guide, we drew a main character. Your poem might have been about a frog. It might have been about a dinosaur. It might have been about a person. In my case, I have a person that's flying a kite. I have some flowers that pop up. Well, in this case, they really are going to pop up. When we're done with our settings, next week we're going to create them popping up out of our setting. So to do that, that means that we need to draw them on a separate piece of paper after we're done with the background. So today we're only drawing the background or setting. Please don't include the things that are the most important in your poem, like your main character. We're going to add those next week and show you how to make them pop out of your poem. It'll be really cool. So I'm just finishing drawing with my colored pencils now. The harder I press, the brighter the color will be, and then I'll show you how we go over top of it with water. Let me go ahead and get started. I have a water bowl with a sponge on the other side and a paintbrush. This paintbrush is small because I'm working in small areas. Now, just like I was working with paint, although the paint is already on my paper. So I don't need to dip in any paint to make these work. I just need to dip in the water. If it starts to drip, wipe it on the lip. No, not your lips. The lip is the edge of the bowl. Then I go over top of my color very carefully. If I were to take my brush and booty scoot or smash it down, then it would mean that all my colors would blend together and I would make brown. So I'm being very careful, just like I were painting, not to bleed my colors together. I am painting only in one direction. All right, awesome artists. When you're finished, these go on the drying rack. I can't wait to see what you create for your settings. Have an awesome time.